Here, and we have another culture day, and we're going to be looking at how the Romans wrote the date. So we're going to explore the Roman calendar, which is a fourth year idea, so it will seem a little complicated. So I just want you to sit back and try to take it all in. You will get a handout with all this information on it. So we are just going to try to make some sense of it, just like we're going to try to make sense of this. So this is the pre-Julian reform, and it is basically a sketch of a wall that we have some remnants of, and each column is a month, and each row or letter on the left represents the numerical date. And if you look all the way over on the right, you can tell that there are two major items listed, the known and idus, and also some things you can tell would be in the second column from the right, about 2/3 of the way down, you can see Saturn, which is labeling Saturnalia, and then in February, which is two columns from the left, you should be able to recognize Luper. Remember, these are U's, which is marking the beginning of Lupercalia, a festival in February, which we will be talking about. Now, we're going to make a little bit more sense of this and how this would translate into writing, but the proof is each institution has its own little way of keeping track of the dates, and that is why it is very important for you all to keep track of your agenda books or your agenda books, because the world can be a very crazy place. So, how they kept track of the years? Two major different ways. AUC, or the consuls of that year. So, you could have this. So, in the consular year of Lucius Piso and Aulus Gabinius. So, notice ablative nouns, another ablative noun, and that is absolutely an ablative absolute. So, with Lucius and Aulus as consuls. And this is similar to us trying to say this event happened during the term of JFK, which for our purposes is a little bit longer term-wise, but the Romans all would have known the different pairings of their consuls, so it would have been pretty easy for them to determine what year you were referring to. Now, AUC stands for Ab Urbe Condita, which is from the city having been founded, and we all know that that magical number is 753. So they would count backwards. Now that would be the same as if the United States decided to have our own numerical system, in which case the year would be 239, and we are now into the year 380 BLS. Now you should all pay attention to the year 710 AUC and what important event occurred during that year, in March perhaps. Anyways, here are the menses, or the months, and you should be able to recognize a few of them. Now notice I have made September, October, November, and December a different color, because we still use those months. They are the last 4 months of our year. However, you should also recognize something you've learned, and that is cardinal numbers. So Septem would mean the number 7, but it's not the 7th month. What? And then also these other months, such as Julius and Augustus. So every time you say something happens in July and August, which just so happen to be the best months because they are summer, but also really the best months because of who they're named after. But anyways, the calendar used to begin in March, which can help explain why September is the 9th month and not the 7th month, and Caesar changed the names of the 5th and 6th months to, that's right, Julius and Augustus. So July and August. Now, they would count backwards from 3 days, but it's easier to think of it as a countdown. So they had 3 very important days of each month: the calends, the nones, and the ides. Calends, which is, yes, where we get the term calendar, is always the first day of the month. The nones and the ides change depending on the month. So if the ides is on the 13th, the nones is on the 5th. If the ides is on the 15th, the nones is on the 7th. And if you're like, whoa, what? There's already way too much to think about. Don't worry, you will get a little rhyme to help you remember. So, in March, July, October, and May, the Ides falls on the 15th day. So those 4 months you need to know: March, July, October, and May. Now, you also need to know how many days are in your month. So 30 days has September, April, June, November. All the rest of 31, except February, is great. It has 28. Now, this is important because if you're counting down and it's the end of the month, you need to know how many days are in that month in order to get the right date. So, other things that you need to know is Dies Dei is a word for day. You'll see the abbreviation PR, which stands for Prettier, the day before, and you will always use Prettier instead of Ante Diem, AD, Roman numeral 2. That's always an eve, so it's always Prettier. And I just mentioned another abbreviation, which is AD, standing for Ante Diem, days before. How many days before? So, we have January, 31 days, and the Ides is on the 13th, making the Nones the 5th. Then you have May, which also has 31 days, but it's one of the special months where the Ides falls on the 15th day, so the Nones is going to be on the 7th. Now, in May, if I wanted you to write the date, the 5th of May, which day would you count backwards from or count down towards? The calends, the Nones, or the Ides? So what you should ask yourself is, did the calends of the month already happen? Yes, because the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th have already passed. So now we're on May 5th. So you're going to be counting down or counting backwards from the Nones. Exactly. Now, notice I included the Nones because Roman dates are inclusive. So they include the special date, the calends, Nones, or Ides, and also the date you're talking about. So therefore 3 days are included. So it is going to be written out AD 3 non May. Now, an authentic date from Caesar's work would be AD v Cal April, or Aprilis. So, first things first, AD stands for Ante Diem, day or days before. How many days before? Roman numeral, 5 days before. And you need to find out when the calends of April is. And you know, April 1st. Okay, which has to do with the moon. Wait, what? Okay, something we'll talk about later in class. Now, this is a little confusing because which month will this actual date be in? Is it April or what? It's 5 days before April 1st, so that means it's going to be in March. I know. Even though the date says April. Kind of confusing. So, we are going to figure this out. You have March, you have April. You figure out the calends of April. Now you start counting, including your dates. That would be March 28th. Bam. So, here's your calendar, your days of the week: Solus, Lunae, Martis, Mercury, Jovis, Winterus, and Saturni. So you have the day of the sun, the moon, Martis, so Mars, Mercury, Jovis, Jupiter, Winterus, Venus, and Saturn. Now notice, you first things first, when you're writing your own calendar trying to figure out the date, you need to figure out on what day of the week your month starts, because that changes. So you can consult your agenda book. It just so happens that in this particular year, January started on a Sunday, which makes life easy. Then you need to know how many days are in your month, and then you need to figure out when the Ides occurs. And notice, every single time there is a colored important date. So the calends of Feb, the Ides of January, the Nones of January, the day before it is going to be PR, Prettier. Instead of saying AD Roman numeral 2, you use a different abbreviation, PR. Now, Caesar's involvement. So he changed it to a very rigid 365 days to, make sure that winter happens in winter months. And he also included the leap day every 4 years to offset, because all of this has to do with the moon and how the earth goes around the sun and how long that takes, and that's not perfect, so you need to kind of readjust it, tweak it back a little bit. He also created the 5th month into July, and this calendar started on the 1st of January in 45. So not much longer did he live after he made his major reform. But anyways, you will learn more about Caesar in the years to come. Now, you are going to create your own month. So you're going to have a template. First, you will write the days of the week, which will be on a handout I will give you on the back side of your month template. You need to use your agenda book to find out what day of the week your month starts. Then you need to find out how many days are in that month, which if you have your agenda book should be fairly easy. You should find out when the Ides fall, so consult your rhyme. Then you need to identify the nones and the Ides. So you can find out the nones depending on when the Ides is. Then for each of those important dates, the calends, the nones, and the Ides, the day before it you write PR because it's pretty A. And then you can fill in the rest of your calendar. You also will be expected to decorate it according to events that occur in that month or holidays. For example, February is going to probably be a bunch of hearts and cupids and all of that jazz. July could be Julius Caesar, but it could also be, beachy things, the sun, what have you. Now, hopefully you're still listening because this is the only time I'm going to say it. I'm not going to say it in class, but if you completely write, and I mean completely write, the date in Roman style, completely correct on any quiz or assessment aside from the final exam, you can earn 5 extra points automatically onto that assessment. So you don't ask me, you don't remind me, it's just one of those things that I know and you should know, and a reward for actually getting through this presentation. Anyways, I hope you have fun creating your own month. You might want to pool together all of the months, at least until June, so you can do well on those extra credit opportunities. Just a suggestion. And that's all. Valete.